Rebel religion in the news.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rebel Religion in the News. War with Iran, the United States, and what is the justification for it? That's what we're going to talk about. Is there a Christian justification for it? Alfredo Romero, Rock of Life Fellowship. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Right off the top, there are those who believe this is a just war.
Yeah.
Many Christians apply what is called a just war theory. This was developed by St. Augustine and St. Thomas Aquinas to argue that force is, quote, a last resort to protect the innocent and restore peace. So, from a Christian perspective, that seems to make sense. I don't know, biblically, what's your thoughts on that, Alfredo?
Yeah, there's a lot of instances, especially if you go in the Old Testament. I'm going to give you two versions. One of them is Old Testament. God is one of the things he does. There's a time for war. And that means that there is a time to defend yourself. Many times, look at Joshua, a great warrior, a great battle. Joshua fought the battle of Jericho. And so God, obviously, there was a purpose for war. And then they go to Revelation. There's an upcoming war when Jesus, he returns back on the horse with the sword. And there's going to be the great battle of Armageddon. So it's not like war doesn't exist in God's, realm. So.
And people do say the just cause proponents argue that preventing a, quote, genocidal regime from acquiring nuclear weapons constitutes a just cause to protect millions of lives. We're going to look at the other side of this as well, but that would certainly apply here. Iran has made it clear that, Iran has also said that the United States is the great Satan.
Yes.
Which is even a bigger Satan than apparently
the Satan.
yeah, apparently bigger than Israel, which is the smaller Satan. So there does seem to be a desire on their part to to kill people, to kill Americans and Jews, and so the other justification is the right intention. The goal is framed as neutralizing a threat. And
Right.
then the other justification for the just war theory would be the last resort, arguing that years of failed diplomacy and sanctions leave military intervention as the only remaining moral path to prevent a larger catastrophe.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a couple of things. Some people say, actually a couple of things. Okay, I've been watching a lot of news and looking at a lot of reports, especially the Iranian reports, and they're if you look at the news, they're loving it. There's videos of millions of people all over the world celebrating this because people think that this Iran has been in existence for generations and centuries. It has not been.
Right.
It's been 46 years since the Islamic took over Iran, ousted their prince, and basically they were Persian, consider themselves Persians, and they were actually, frankly, they were part of the Arab world, and now the Islamics, they changed their flag, they instituted women have not been able to show themselves. They stopped the women going to college. They shut down the Christian churches, and there's millions of Christian.
Well, the mistake came in about 1979. The Shah of Iran was deposed.
That's right.
And brought in by the Ayatollah Khomeini, and that was the big change. And unfortunately, I don't know. Some people believe the United States should have been a stronger supporter of the Shah, but we seem to just let him go away and be taken over. And that may have happened regardless of who was in power in the United States. So it's hard to say. We don't really, I'm not sure I know.
Yeah,
But
can't go back.
the other justification for the war is the protection of persecuted Christians.
Yes.
Liberation, survival. And I would think God wants us to protect our Christians and people, I believe, of all faiths, I would assume.
Yeah, yeah. And the most important thing about this is that people kind of misunderstand what it means. Like when the Bible says, like you can go to let me see, Romans 3:10-18, and then basically Paul's talking about it's necessary in a world filled with sinful people. War is inevitable, and there's a spiritual battle because God in Ephesians 6 gives us armor, and we don't battle against flesh and blood. We battle against the spirit's powers in the heavenlies. So basically what we're looking at, this is always and always has been, like Jesus says, you're for me or against me. It's always a spiritual battle. So why do you think Christians are the most persecuted, faith in the world? Because it's the truth. So the Islamic world is actually in Iran you're right. They're persecuting the Christians, killing Christians. And
Well, they're killing their own people too.
well,
I
yeah,
mean,
thousands upon
right? Even
thousands.
people that just disagree with what they're doing and how they're doing the government, they feel oppressed. I mean, it's yes, Christians, yes, but
And their own
even
people.
their own people with their own faith.
Yeah, and the biggest thing about it, people need to understand this. Is start reading the news. Look at the reports from the Iranian people. They have never been an Islamic nation until 46 years ago. They were taken over. They were conquered, and they used to be a peaceful nation. So, well, somewhat peaceful, I guess you'd say. It's the Middle East. But here's the other thing I wanted to say. I was talking to a gentleman yesterday, and he said, "Hey, Pastor, what do you think about this war?" And I said, "Well, it seems to be necessary." He goes, "Well, I'm a pacifist. I don't believe in murdering people and war." I said, "Well, I wish and would pray that it was never necessary." He goes, "I just don't think we should interfere." I go, "Wait a minute. Let's just do some history." So I told him, death to America, that's their mantra. Their whole hope is to build weapons to destroy America and destroy Israel. And I said, no. He goes, "Well, I still wouldn't do anything." And I said, okay, this is preemptive. Give me just another second here. It's preemptive. We're stopping them before something worse happens. They flat out said, "We're going to destroy America." You can already tell. Look, they're the proponent and a promoter of terrorism all over the world. He goes, I still don't like the war." Okay, I'll tell you what. You're walking down the street with your wife. You got a couple of kids with you. A couple of guys come up to you and they start beating up your wife and kicking your kids around. Are you going to say I'm a pacifist, or are you going to defend your people? And that's what we're doing. We're defending our people before something like that happens.
Biblical prophecy comes into play here as well, and the support for Israel. Do you believe that theological views on Israel and the end of times are influencing these justifications, or that just a byproduct?
I think God's got this all planned out. I think He knows what's going to happen. There's nothing that surprises Him. God's not up in heaven going, "Oh, I can't believe we just bombed Iran." Or what? Nothing takes Him by surprise. And so, yes, this is expected. We knew this was going to happen. It is a spiritual war. And why is it Christians they're going after? Even in Israel, where their God is the God, obviously the difference there is the Messiah. But why would they go after America, which is still, whether people agree or not, still pretty much a Christian nation? That's where we were founded, and that's proponents of the believers.
Well, there's a couple of interesting points that they're based biblically. Genesis 12, verse 3, "I will bless those who bless you,"
Yes.
referring to Israel. Some argue that Christians must support Israel's defense against Iran to receive God's blessing. Some people say that is no longer the case with Jesus coming, and that vow that God gave to Israel no longer applies. But then we're getting to some real deep theology there.
Yeah, it's pretty deep. It's replacement theory, and it's probably one of the most.
Or covenant theory is the
And
other-
covenant, yeah.
Which one you
Which
believe
one you
in?
believe? There's a lot of people that will debate that, and it's probably very much unknown. People go, "What? What's replacement theory? What's covenant theory?" But there are people out there that believe that Israel of the Bible no longer exists, and therefore we don't have any obligation to defend Israel, which, frankly, I disagree with.
Well, whether that's the case or not, I mean, Israel is a democratic, peaceful nation, and whether or not you believe in, replacement theology or covenant theology, some people would say they are an ally and a strong supporter
Sure.
of our way of life, if you will, and that they should be protected.
And they're right there in the Middle East. I mean, there's no other democratic country there.
Ezekiel 38:39. Some interpreters see modern Iran as part of a coalition that will attack Israel in the last days, viewing current tensions as a fulfillment of prophecy. And finally, the rising lion, Prime Minister Netanyahu used a biblical imagery from, I believe it's Numbers 23, verse 24, in operations like Rising Lion resonates with evangelicals who view such conflicts as divinely sanctioned.
Yeah, you can get pretty deep into the theology. There's Gog and Magog, which people believe that it kind of points to maybe being Russia and Iran attacking Israel. One from I believe the east, one from the north. So look, you can get pretty deep on this, but here's the bottom line to me. If I had anybody, a neighboring house that told me, one day I'm going to blow your house up, I'm going to destroy you, And I would call the cops. I would try to preempt it. I would try to stop it. And I view that as what we're doing. Now, that's my personal opinion as a man, other pastors and people may disagree, but I totally believe in defense. And like even here's justification for defense. Jesus is sending out his disciples to go out and preach the gospel. Hey, you got everything you need. You got your blankets. You got everything. You got a sword? Yeah, we got swords. Okay, great. It's probably what you need. He says, we got one. Yeah, that's all you need. Don't worry about it. But we knew that Jesus had a team around him that defended him and took him out of when people were going after him, the disciples would usher him out of the city. They would protect him. Now, why can't we protect ourselves is what I'm saying when you've got a country saying we're going to blow you up. And it's spiritual because they call us the great Satan.
Yeah. I don't know if you had a chance this morning to watch the news conference with Secretary of War now,
Yeah.
Pete Hegseth, and Ben Kane, the person, he's I want to say national security advisor, but I can't remember his title.
Sure.
But they gave a good explanation, because I think most people are concerned this is going to be another forever war, which we've had, in recent times. I think that the administration is probably a little wiser than that. At least we hope so, that's not going to be necessary to just do what needs to be done. Unfortunately, 4 service members have already perished from the United States because of, and I'm not even sure we would call it a war at this point. I'm not sure it feels like it's a military action. It doesn't feel like a war at this point.
True. Yeah, here's something to focus on. I just saw some news reports early this morning, and there was videos of the Iranians marching in the street, thousands, maybe a million, thousands and thousands and thousands of them. And the women were taking off all their burqas and all these things that they were supposed to wear all the time to cover themselves up. They showed people taking off. They showed a guy in London jumping up onto the embassy and taking down the Iranian flag and putting up the original flag. It was something to be seen. And I'll finish that story when we come back.
Yeah, we're going to come back. Talk about the military conflict or war. I'm not sure what we're going to call it at this point. I think it's too early to really say. But there's the opposing views, opposing Christian perspectives that we should not get involved in this. We want to give that side of the story as well. United States involved in military action. I don't feel comfortable calling it a war at this point, although I think some news organizations have, maybe rightfully so. Are we involved in a war? I don't know. I'm not sure yet. It doesn't quite feel like it. It does feel like, well, maybe. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say it hopefully won't lead into a full-out war because we haven't declared war. You need a declaration of war, and we have not done that. Right. But what I was going to say earlier is that there was these 2 videos that had come out. One of them showed the Iranians in the street of Iran and other places around the country. And they're marching. They had banners saying, "Thank you, Trump," and "Thank you, America." And, like, we're back. We're now going to call ourselves Persian like we used to be. And they were just taking off the burqas, and they was just taking down the old flag. Because if you didn't know, when Islam took over, they changed the flag from a lion, basically this roaring lion, and they changed it to, like, the mark of Islamic mark. So here's the thing. And then they showed a video of people in America marching in the streets, hundreds of them, saying, stop persecuting Iran, pull out of Iran, stop persecuting the people. And I go, wait a minute. We are so uninformed as the people. They're protesting this action. And in other words, the American people, not all of them, but the percentage of them, obviously, the ones that are more activist, and the ones that are anti-Trump. So no matter what he does, he can't do anything right. But they're marching the street, protesting this. And then they show the video of the Iranian people celebrating Trump. So I just thought that was very interesting.
Interesting juxtaposition. We do need to point out that there are those who believe, Christian believers, and even non-Christians, who believe just in peace and will quote the Bible, and they're sincere in their beliefs.
Sure.
And I think we need to point that out. And I'm not advocating for one position or the other. I think Reverend Alfredo Romero of Rock of Life Fellowship, I think he has a viewpoint. I'm not saying I do or do not share it. I just want to present both sides. And there are advocates for the just peace who will argue that war only amplifies problems and that Christians are called to be peacemakers, Matthew 5, verse 9, and to love their enemies. And there's also anti-war theology. Some argue that no earthly nation represents the kingdom of God and that war is, quote, immoral and ungodly regardless of political goals. And then the humanitarian concern emphasizes the risk to innocent lives on both sides and a call for de-escalation and prayer for all people. So, but these are people who, maybe those on the pro-war side, and really, it's there are many conservatives, many Republicans who are just isolationist, and say we under no circumstances should be going into any other country and getting involved with whatever it is. So there is a justification, I think, an opposing Christian perspective, which I think needs to be discussed.
Yeah, I can't disagree with the fact that we are to be peaceful people. It's one of the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace. I don't disagree with peace, but unfortunately, we didn't start this. Now, if you look at, for example, somebody that has a political figure that maybe one party agrees with, they will respond in violence. And the Christians, when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, they responded with praise and worship of our God. So obviously, I would hope that most Christians would react that way in peace, love, forgiveness. That's what we're called to do, pray for our enemies. And at the same time, even people say, well, that was Old Testament when God called on he called on the people to defeat the Amalekites because they were attacking the Israel. God said, basically, go and destroy them. Okay, that's true. But now people say, New Testament, oh, it's love your enemies. Okay, and at the same time, New Testament, we fight a spiritual battle. We're not fighting against these people because they just hate America. We're fighting against these people because they're against the true faith of God. And anybody that exudes that true faith of God, they're going to attack. They've said it themselves: death to America, death to Christians. They call it jihad. They're going to go out and they're going to destroy anybody. I even read an article from a Muslim that said it's our duty to destroy the infidels. So, and to put it this way, we didn't start this fire. We didn't start this war. But there is a certain amount of truth when God says we can defend ourselves. And we can defend ourselves. We're not going to start it. But put it this way in a bigger picture. God didn't start all this, but God's going to finish it. You read in Revelation, he's going to come down with his angels, and he's going to come down with his church, and he's going to fight the battle of Armageddon, and he's going to defeat in a war evil once and for all.
Well, again, I'm going to take the opposite side,
Sure,
just to be interesting.
Yeah, that's fun.
Well, there were so many martyrs who willingly just said, okay, I am not going to fight. I will accept what it is. Instead of fighting to kill somebody, to defend my life and defend others, this is, there is a greater good, which is to be with God.
Yeah.
And so, I always bring up a movie called The Mission, which is a very, very dramatic portrayal of whether you willingly give up your life or whether you fight back to defend your life. And that's kind of the same type of situation we were seeing here. Love for enemies, Sermon on the Mount.
Sure.
Argue that Christians are called to love their enemies, a mandate they believe is fundamentally incompatible with state-sponsored bombing campaigns. The Jesus test. Some theologians argue that because Jesus lived a life of nonviolence and refused to use force even in his self-defense, his followers cannot justify modern warfare as an approach to global challenges. And think about the disciples who suffered horrible deaths. They seem to willingly accept them, as opposed to, maybe, we don't know, perhaps they did fight back before they were ultimately either beheaded or died in gruesome fashion. I don't know. But it seems like they willingly allowed their lives to be taken. Should we be doing that?
Well, that was all completely wrong. That last section, those people that believe that are absolutely wrong. And I'm going to tell you why. I just did a sermon on what Jesus could have done. there is the Ecclesiastes says that there's a time for war. There's a time to celebrate, time to dance, a time to live, the time to die. Okay, we know that from the Birds, Turn, Turn, Turn. But that was a song in the 60s.
Yeah.
But anyway, but that's completely wrong. Let me tell you why. Because Jesus could have done all that. And he said he could have done that. There is a time for peace and there's a time for war. Now, Jesus was here. Oh, he never did anything. He never defended himself. He was so peaceful and loving. Okay, well, here's what Jesus is. Jesus said what he could have done because it just wasn't the time for war yet. So they come into the garden and Judas betrays him with the kisses him. Oh, that's the guy we're supposed to get. It's Roman soldiers mixed in with the
Right.
with the guards. Okay. So here's what happens. Jesus, he says, okay, just to let you know, I'm not really going, you're not taking me. I'm going with you. Don't think for a moment that I couldn't call down legions of angels to come and defend me.
You see, you're making the point. You're making the point that Jesus said, I could have done this, but I chose not to.
And the reason
maybe that's what we're supposed to do.
Nope, not at that time. Because what Jesus was doing, he was fulfilling the will of his Father. He was fulfilling his mission. Had he called down a legion of angels at that time, then he would have messed up the whole mission. So that wasn't the will. But think of Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator. What Jesus was saying was, yeah, you're taking me now, but you know what? I'll be back. I'll be back. And next time you see me, I'm coming down with a sword. I'm coming down with my army, and we're going to wipe you all out. It just wasn't the time. So maybe this is the time for us to defend ourselves. And look, and it's not just a single person. If it's just me and I'm out in the jungle and somebody's going to kill me, okay, well, fine. Okay, I'll lay down my life for the Lord. But now they're threatening everyone, our families. They're threatening our country, our states, our way of life. They have said we want to wipe you out. We have to have a defense for that. We have to. We just have to have defense for that. Interesting. Interesting.
But I'm guessing, is it something that happens at your church, Rock of Life Fellowship? Is this something that you guys discuss? I mean, this happened on Saturday.
Yeah, we fight all the time.
You guys did discuss this issue on Sunday at all?
Yeah, we did. We did. I mean, like I said, for the gentleman that I talked to, he says, I'm a pacifist. I don't think we should be doing this war. I said, okay, you're in your home. And people are doing a home invasion. You're just going to open up the door for me. Come on, take what you want. You want to beat my wife?
Maybe you just move.
No, you defend yourself. I've got alarm systems. There's things that I have to defend my property. But most of all, defend life. Yeah. I don't care about property. Take my property. I don't care. But don't do any type of imminent threat towards my wife, my family.
I just like to take the opposite side.
Sure.
I don't have an opinion on this. Again, it doesn't appear as though Iran directly attacked the United States.
In the past? Are you kidding me?
Well, not in the last 47 years.
Well, how many Christians have been persecuted in Iran just this last couple of months?
Well, that's okay, but I'm talking about a direct shot at the United States.
Well, if you take a shot at an American citizen on your home soil, it's still a shot at the United States.
Okay.
But that's a good point, Larry.
Right.
Sorry.
Well, no. It's more complicated than we realize.
It is.
Let's
it's very complicated.
Let's just hope it ends out well.
Yes.
And
I don't want any more loss of life
on either side.
Yes. Hopefully it's in God's will, and we'll just have to trust Him for this.
Right.
Amen.
Well, yeah. Alfredo Romero, he is the pastor of Rock of Life Fellowship. You could
General of Rock of Life.
General, yeah, he's a general today, battalion.
I'm a soldier in the Lord's army.
Yeah. And give us the rockoflifechico.org, right?
Yeah, there's a few different ways you can call or get in touch with us if you have questions. There's a website and there's a YouTube channel, and there's also just visiting Rock of Life.
All right, we're out of time. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll talk to you next time. Take good care.
Be safe.